Welcome to the QuoteCenter Lesson D training. Today we will primarily be going over two of the features within QuoteCenter. First, we will start off with an overview of the basics of the container itself, and then we will be going over analytics and some of the features found within that part of QuoteCenter. And lastly, we will be going over Newswatch and some of the options available within that feature as well. Before we do get started, I just need to give you a brief disclaimer. Today's training is designed to instruct in some of the basics of Metastock, QuoteCenter. We will provide some guidelines for using certain features within the software. However, nothing presented in this training is intended as, or should be construed to be, a recommendation to buy or sell any specific security. The information, software, and techniques presented today should only be used by investors who are aware of the risks inherent in trading. Equus shall have no liability for any investment decisions based on the use of their software, any trading strategies, or any information provided in connection with the company. So to start with, what is the container? Well, the container is an application that houses all the components of QuoteCenter, such as the menus, toolbars, workspaces, and controls. It provides the environment and tools to run and design workspaces. Managing the screen real estate is as important as the data being displayed. And because the container has such an open architecture, applications as well as entire workspaces can be used outside of the frame. These configurations of pop-ups are all saved as part of the overall workbook. Pop-up windows operate independently from the container. These pop-ups float on top of workspaces and can be saved in a position outside of the container or the frame. You can configure your desktop to accommodate the workflow for your specific needs. In addition to allowing pop-ups to float outside the container, entire workspaces can be configured as pop-ups and can also be positioned outside the container. And this really gives you unlimited possibilities for desktop customization. Lastly, the entire container can be shrunk, leaving only the configured pop-ups visible. Next, we'll talk a little bit about the Navigate menu, so I'll go ahead and bring that up here. The Navigate menu is available for most controls, and you can use the Navigate menu to quickly explore and retrieve a variety of data in various display formats, such as news and charts, without having to access and configure the controls yourself. So to use the Navigate menu, for example, we can right-click in this Market Watch screen, which hopefully you should all see. Actually, I'll activate my pointer so you can see my mouse cursor a little bit easier, hopefully. Okay, there we go. Basically, you should see the cursor floating over the Australian dollar, Canadian dollar symbol. So what I'm going to do is right-click, and I can choose Navigate. And then I would select the desired menu option, whether I want symbol news regarding that symbol, top news, top equities news. As you can see, several different options for navigating, and that should all be relative to the object I right-clicked on. So for example, if we choose Technical Summary, it then pops up an Analytics window, and I'll try to shrink this to fit the screen a little better, giving the technical summary for that instrument, in this case Australian dollar, Canadian dollar. So without actually having to create an analytics control and position it in the workstation, it actually opened up a pop-up of that control for that information. There we go. Okay, so we'll just go ahead and double-click again to bring up the Add Display. We'll go ahead and highlight Analytics. It's already highlighted, and we'll just choose OK. Okay, So this is kind of our landing page for analytics. You can actually see here along the bottom, and you may have to maximize your video screen depending on the display size if you can't see the whole thing. But there's what we call a command line down at the very bottom. You should see it's highlighted with a left bracket MSQC menu written in it. And this is kind of the root menu for analytics. Many of these analytic commands are also available via the navigate menu, which can be accessed from most of the QuoteCenter controls via the right-click shortcut that I showed you earlier, where we chose technical summary, and there was a few other options for analytics as well. Okay, some of these options on this screen you're looking at, you might wonder what they are or how do you use them. Pretty much anything in here in red or blue is typically something that you can double-click on. Not all of the blue items or red items can be double-clicked on, or you may click on them and you'll get like a minimum authorization not met. Some of these features are designed for use in our institutional level products and at least are currently not available on the consumer level. This may or may not change. This is something that Reuters helps decide as far as what they want permissioned on the institutional versus consumer level with some of these analytics. So for example, we have a red line item here that says MSQC sum, and the description we can see is market summaries. So for example, if we double click right on that MSQC sum, we get a subsequent page. You'll also notice what shows in the command line changed. So you don't have to double click, you can also manually type it onto the command line at the bottom. Also, some of the instructional information will be at the bottom of the page here. We can see there's a /doc/MSQC sum/MN. That's actually showing us the current page we're on. There's navigational arrows down at the command line. You may see them on the right-hand side there, a left, right, double left, and double right. This is for navigating back or forward. So if we keep hitting back, we'll get back to our MSQC menu. There's also a history where this little drop-down arrow here is, where you can see the commands that have been typed in. So you can also navigate the history that way. Here we can see an example of how to use this command. Sometimes they'll show you it's a prefix, sometimes the command is a suffix. What that means here you can see on the right-hand side for a technical display, it's sim/t, meaning you're supposed to put in the symbol you want and then /t after the symbol. As you can see, the example actually looked for a company called Sim. So that's actually something that would normally not work if there wasn't an actual valid symbol. So I'll go ahead and just show you an example of typing it onto the analytics, the command line. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to left click down on the command line, highlight what was previously there, and I'm going to type in the symbol such as US:IBM /T. That was the format it wanted, sim, meaning the symbol, /T. This brings up what's called the technical summary for IBM. If you want some of the various subcommands, most of the commands within the analytics can be followed by a /?, which will give you additional information about that command. So for example, if we put /T/?, and press enter, The analytics window gives us an explanation of what technical display is. Gives us the default parameter as technical display, gives you an example, which is the symbol /T. Shows you some alternative commands such as the alternative premium, the @stock price, the daily chart included in the display, currency conversion, and you can see with the example you have to specify if you wanted it listed in a different currency. Intraday chart included, and last sale. And you can see there are also /doc commands for these individual suffixes of /T. And you can double click on those as well. Okay. One other thing I just wanted to cover briefly regarding entering on whenever you're entering a symbol into analytics, and this kind of goes into the properties of the entire container itself, but there is a default vehicle and a default class, vehicle class, that is built into QuoteCenter. So for example, when I type in IBM, it actually assumes for me US /IBM, which is the US version of IBM. You could also do DE /IBM for the German IBM. But by default, if you do not put the country and the vehicle, it will assume US / by default. You can change that, and we'll go ahead and go in there now. You actually want to click on the flag in the bottom right corner of QuoteCenter. And there is a default origin, which is set to US by default, and a default vehicle class, which is set to corporate. And that corporate or / is primarily used for stocks. It is used for some indices as well. So whenever you do not put in a country and vehicle, it assumes this default. Okay, next we'll just cover accessing the other methods of getting help from within the analytics. And these help commands that I'll be showing you next provide information on how to use the functions of the analytics control. So I've already showed you the MSQC menu. You can also do an open bracket or the left bracket and hello. This accesses an introduction to the Analytics Central System help. So you can kind of read that over that information. Whenever you use the /doc feature, if you know a command, you can just type it in /doc/ whatever that command happens to be, such as the /T. And we already did that one, but you can pretty much do that for any of the supported commands, like you could do /doc/C. We can see that's for a commodity display. /doc/TT. We get the tabular trades explanation. So you can get documentation through /doc/ and then the command you're looking for information on. I believe this can be done with the bracketed commands as well. If you do /doc/ bracket hello. Let's try that one more time. Nope, doesn't look like it wants to let you do that. Pretty sure it can be done. Okay. You actually enter the command without the bracket is all. So even though it's a bracketed command, enter the command with a slash instead of the bracket. There is also a dictionary, /dic. You can do /dic/? If you want documentation on some of the commands. So if there's ever an acronym that you're not familiar with, it's a comprehensive dictionary of general terms. So there we go. So we type /dic/ a string of commands. The Bridge Online Dictionary will return any sort of result it finds with those letters in it. We do /doc/display. Also, it's /page3. This accesses a list of all the current displays. And you can press enter to cycle through all the list of commands. And then you can use the back and forward arrows to cycle through those displays of all the different commands there. Bracket new, you can use that as well. One thing to note, even though the command line looks like it's highlighted, sometimes when you start clicking into other controls, the command line is what we call loses focus. So even though it looks highlighted, if you start typing, nothing actually shows up. So you actually want to click into the box to give it focus again, then start typing in your command. The bracket new command accesses announcements concerning new and enhanced analytics displays, as well as canned commands like the bracket MSQC menu. And that's pretty much all we'll be going over with analytics for now. If you do have any additional specifics on any of that, you can contact our support during our normal hours. But next we're actually going to go into Newswatch. So I'm going to go ahead and close out of this for now. Newswatch, again, is a real-time news headline monitor for news and research services. This control provides an extensive search capabilities for easily locating specific stories based on predefined criteria. Newswatch facilitates the retrieval of specific news headlines related to company symbols. Search parameters can be expanded to include news headline profiling built around very specific search criteria. So first, how to open Newswatch. Well, we already have a blank workspace, so we'll just double-click. We'll double-click on Newswatch. So we now have this streaming headline monitor available on our screen. First, you can adjust the properties of this window if you see fit. You can do this by right-clicking within the Newswatch window, going down to the bottom and choosing Properties, going over to Newswatch, and there are some basic commands. You can show title, just basically enables or disables the blue header bar. Status bar along the bottom. Column headers showing you what each of these fields is. And you can expand these as well by just positioning the mouse between the column headers and stretching these columns. There we go. So that's what those features control. The order in which they arrive is either based on arrival order or publication time. Scroll bars, horizontal or vertical, up along the right-hand side and the bottom. You can have the headlines to use your PC speaker to beep whenever there's flash headlines. Alerts can be done on the status bar as well. You can refresh data or refresh search. You can also do that from right-clicking, so there's not much reason to do that from properties. Okay, so using the right mouse, you can also access various shortcut menus within QuoteCenter. And we're just going to cover some of those other categories here. Okay, so we can see from the right-click menu, we can launch the search wizard. We can set different categories to search by. You do not have to search by all of these categories. You can click into, for example, symbols if you wanted to search for a specific symbol, or a symbol list if you want to load one of your symbol lists. Can do a keyword search if you want to type in keywords. This launches sort of a Windows or a wizard type of a box where you can then pick any of these different categories to search by. If you just do right-click by keywords, it only pops open that specific. So if you want to do a quick keyword search and just look for topics on Forex, and not only will it search for if it's in the header or not, but it will also look for if there's anything in the topics themselves that have that keyword. So for example, if we opened up this top news front page, Forex is probably mentioned somewhere on there. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but just be aware that whatever you search for, it does look in the contents of the news, not just the headline. You can also use a template to select the various fields that show up within Newswatch. To do that, we just right-click, go down to Template, and then choose Select Fields. On the window that comes up, we have the fields that already exist on the right, and our list of available fields on the left. We do recommend using these defaults as a minimum. We recommend at least having wire and time and headline within here. Some of these may be less useful, such as symbol. If you decide you don't want it, you just highlight it, hit the arrows pointing to the left, and it removes it from the list of fields that are displayed. You can click on the plus sign on any of these categories on the left. We can just do all if you want to see absolutely everything available. And you can scroll through these. And you can change the order as well by on the right-hand side. If you left-click and drag up or down, you can arrange their position in the template as well. So if we wanted wire, followed by date and time, followed by headline, in that order, we just drag them and to get to that arrangement. Perhaps we also want the source. We can add that over there. Once we've arranged them as we see fit, we click OK. And as you can see, my Newswatch changed the order in which it was displaying, and it added some additional fields as well. Also, once you have made changes to the template, if you want to save this as a specific template that you can access later, right-click, Template, and choose Save. You could replace the existing template file for this, or you can just create a new one and choose Save. And then you can always load this template later. As you can see, it created it right here. So assuming we're back to this RA News, if we wanted to quickly get back, right-click, template, load, double-click on mine, and I have it back to my custom view again. Okay, that should pretty much cover it. I'll show you one other aspect that I'd like to cover, and that's if you wanted to link a Newswatch, which we've kind of covered in other training if you've gone to the container training. But if we wanted to link a Newswatch, for example, to a news story, we could certainly do that. In fact, we'll just go ahead and tile these controls to get them easily arranged. We'll go ahead and click on our link button here at the top, the chain. We'll go down and position our cursor over the control we want to link from. We'll left click and drag down to the control we want to link to, and release. You can see there's only one type of link to request that news story. We'll just choose OK. So now whenever we double click on one of these, it will actually load it into the window below. Normally, if you didn't have a link, it would actually open up a new news story. Even though you may have a news story on your workspace, if you want it to actually populate based on what you double click up here, you want to link the two together. And then you can click on the link again to show the existing links. And we can see that link is showing right there.